1979, I suppose out of all the years that we went through where we were making semis all the time, it wasn't a great year for us. I think we underachieved that year. We made the finals.
On the outside of him. Back come Parramatta now, who've looked a more attacking side. Price with a dummy, having a good game. There's a try under the post, and it's Hilditch. No argument about that one. Platts through the dummy and very nearly got through. He's a try. He's got it down one-handed. It's a try to Lou Platts. He went very, very close, hung over it, then reached down with his arm. The quarter line. Parramatta on the move. Patterson switches it back to Price. Price has found a gap right through the middle. He'll go on and score. It's a magnificent solo effort. Strong, capable front rower now that he's out of the hooking line of work. Webb didn't look at that pass, but he's got it to Price, and Price has gapped them. Looks to support. Murray's there. Back inside nicely to Glover. Really going. Glover's going to score. Glover's up the sideline and he's in. That's a classic try. And I reckon the bookies are going to shorten them down even more for the grand final favouritism. Somebody off. Set from the field. Gerard, who's been plugging up the middle there and finding gaps. Cronin's in. Yes. Up on the quarter line. Murray. Webb. Gerard. Beautiful pass to Platts. He's in for number 2. Easy. I've recalled young Peter Sterling, who was blooded in last year's semi-final replay, and deposed veteran Johnny Peard, who will coach the Eels next year. Peter Wynn, who scored 11 tries in his first 13 games until injury forced him out for a long rest, has won back a second row spot at Big Lou Platt's expense. We've got about 9 minutes to half-time. Parramatta are leading by 2 points to nil. Sterling to Cronin. Unloads one-handed back to Levy. Levy then to Webb. Webb away to Sterling. Sterling makes a nice little break. Got himself up. Look at Atkins. Atkins positioning himself. Lobs a pass inside. It's over the sideline and they've bombed another chance. That's 3. I would say 3 very good scoring opportunities. Parramatta have bombed in the first half. Anderson. Very involved. Look at this. Anderson's run right through. Kicks. It's a kick and chase situation. Price is going with him. I tell you what, that is an incredible sprint by the Australian lock forward, and why he's one of the wonder players of 1979.
Canterbury were a little wake up to what we used to do, because if you watch enough of one side, you start to learn pros and cons of what they do and what they don't. So anyway, they just scored a try, so we were behind, and the ball went up. I've gone up. Now, my eyes are just on the ball. That's all I worry about is the ball. And I've gone up with my hands like that as Chris Mortimer's gone up. And his neck just seemed to come in contact with my arm. Like, I didn't go up to hit him. I went up for the ball. And as it was, he did a little bit of a dive and I got sent off. Hartley again, get off.
Guess what the charge will be. I would assume it would allege that he had tackled in a high or dangerous fashion to a player not in possession of the ball.
We got beaten in the final, and you know, it's one of those things where they were getting so close we couldn't quite come up with a win. I think people were starting to wonder whether they'd ever win the competition.
At the beginning of 1979, Terry Fernley actually chose me in the top grade for about the first 6 or 7 games. Again, a learning experience, and I had some good games and some bad games, and subsequently was put back into reserve grade and played there for the rest of the year. We actually won the competition that year under Mick Alchin, and it was a tough year. He was a tough coach. He was a my way or the highway kind of coach, and so it was hard training and a tough slog, but all I suppose, was worthwhile doing a victory lap at the Sydney Cricket Ground at the end of the year in reserve grade. But I also got to play there in first grade as well. A little bit of deja vu. Similar to the year before, I was called up through injury into the top grade, this time against Canterbury. I was at 5/8. And Mick Patterson was the starting 5/8, the normal starting 5/8, but got a very bad infection. And he played the week before and actually pushed the poison all through his system, and it got very serious. And they called him in at one stage there. I don't think I'm overdoing it in saying it almost got life-threatening at one stage. So, it was a difficult time for Mick Patterson, and he gave me that opportunity by pulling out of that game. And again, it wasn't a match that I excelled in. My most vivid memory is being pushed off by Gary Hughes, their 5/8, a very, very smart player, but not the quickest and probably not the strongest. But the kind of game that, again, I look back on that I wish I could have contributed more. I'd have loved to have been on a winning side, but in the long run, something that, again, probably helped me, years down the track more than that particular afternoon.
I left Penrith at the end of 1977 and joined Eastern Suburbs in 1978 under the captain coach Arthur Beetson, and really came back into my own. I just felt fit and good, and they had such a great array of names. It was like basically playing in a test team at some stage with Coote and Bobby Fulton, Mark Harris, Billy Mullins, Fairfax. They just had a wonderful side. And I felt actually privileged to be playing in that team. And while we didn't do anything to set the comp alight, we certainly won a lot of games and actually did win the midweek competition of that year. And I think a pre-season comp in the following year. And I really enjoyed the 2 years I was with Eastern Suburbs. Wonderful blokes, terrific blokes, and really enjoyed it. But I'd made up my mind then that while I was still only about 30, I was certainly getting close to the end of the line, and I would have liked to have finished my football at Parramatta. So I was talking to Dennis Fitzgerald, and I said to Dennis, I said, like, if there's ever a chance that anything could happen that I could come back and just finish off with Parramatta, I'd really like to do it. And as things turned out, I came back in 1980.
The end of 79, as I say, you think it's a great year. I came up for contract, 9 years, life membership the following year, all that type of gear. However, St George management and myself, we just couldn't nail down a contract that was acceptable to both of us. It was basically their business decision to let me go, which I respect them for. And then, I just had to bite the bullet, so I bit the bullet. And that particular day, Parramatta rang and said, we're keen on acquiring your services. I said, well, what's the deal? And they told me the deal, and I said, well, if that's the deal, I'll sign with you tonight. And they said, hang on, don't you want to think? I said, no. I said, no. I said, I want to go to a club that is going to have an enormous chance of winning premierships. I think it'll assist, I know I can assist you, very, very much so. And it's only a natural progression to go from one club to your main competitor, I suppose, because the Parramatta St George battles over the years had been quite memorable out here at Cumberland Oval. And so that's what happened, and that's why I ended up here at Parramatta.
Well, I was still playing in 79. I was appointed coach in 80, which is a hard job anyway to make that switch from player to coach with the same players that you've been playing with, and then you're starting to tell them what to do. It's a very difficult process. But I tried to introduce a few of my own ideas and carried with me some of Terry's, and Terry had laid a very good foundation.
In 1980, I was trialling with the President's Cup, which was, again, a junior representative side for Parramatta. And we had a trial game against guys that were trialling for grade, or under 23s as it was then. over at Cumberland Oval. So I played at a few games over there, and then on the I think on the Monday I got a phone call from Ron Fernley, whose brother was Terry Fernley, who was coaching in '79 at Parramatta. And Ron was still there coaching the under-23s, and he just asked me, they were impressed by what I'd done in those games and suggested that I come over, trial for grade rather than trial for the junior rep side. So, of course, I did that and played in about 4 or 5 games in all the trials against various clubs, the Manleys, the Canterburys, the Cronullars, and was fortunate enough to get graded. So in 1980, that's when I got graded at Parramatta.
In 1980, John Peard took over as first grade coach at the Parramatta Club, and he took me aside in the off-season leading up to that and said, look, I want you to practice scrum feeding, which to me was a fair hint that he was going to give me an opportunity in the number 7 jersey. We didn't have a good year. We won the Amco Cup, I think, but the club was certainly looking at more than that when it came to the success stakes, and I felt as players we let John down. We had a good side, we had a lot of talent there. In his first year of coaching, there were maybe some deficiencies in John's coaching as well. We set goals, and when we didn't achieve those goals, there wasn't sort of a safety net, and it wasn't a good year. We just didn't sort of get any momentum going at any stage through that.
I had a dreadful year that year. I busted my cruciate ligament in my knee. So I couldn't play in the win that they had the midweek. I missed that. I was out for, I think, 6 or 9 weeks or something.
I was made captain. Ray Price got injured, and I was fortunate enough to be able to captain the side for that year, which wasn't too tough really. I mean, I had some just great players like Cronin, Gerard, and Sterling, and the like all around me, and they just helped with the decision making and just got on with the job.
Or Bob O'Reilly, or the Bear as he's affectionately known by rugby league fans, had a blinder last week, as good as anything he's produced in the last 6 years. Obviously pride was the motivating force. He wanted to prove that even a veteran can produce the goods, and he did. O'Reilly, beautiful pass on there to Patterson, gets it away to beats it to Cronin. Cronin looks for support, can't get a pass away, plenty of pace in the game. Gerard beats it, way! Like a pair of billy goats. Straight into each other. There's Glover. A Baines one. Pass back inside to Gerard. Gerard's into the corner! Jack Argent, the Parramatta Club official, just brought the crowd 17,936.
Well, the record would say that I didn't handle the wealth of talent I had there very well, just on the record. But I did my best. I had Arthur and Bob O'Reilly in the same pack, and Jeff Gerard and Peter Wynn. So, and Pricey, of course, was always going to be a selection. So I had some very, very talented players there, and very, very hard heads, a lot of them. They'd been playing for many, many years.
Defending as Price goes on the surge. He won't be more than 2 metres away from the line. Beats it! It's there! It's a try! It's not a try. Yes, it's a try!
I think we certainly let him down at the end there, where we lost 4 games in a row, and from memory the last one was a shocker.
I was watching the last game, we're playing West, and Teddy Goodwin just kept, not hammering Crow, but in his face all the time. Anyway, Crow had played, Mick Cronin had played against Teddy Goodwin, all his junior. So they'd always been at each other. And I'd never seen the Crow throw a punch. He got sent off. I couldn't believe it. Wow.
So it was the first year in quite a number of years that we never made semi-finals.
As it turned out, Peardy, he only got 1 year out of him too, and the great Arthur Beetson, who was with Parramatta that year, he decided to retire too, but his last 3 or 4 games with Parramatta was as good as I've ever seen him play, and it was just absolutely great to see him go out the way he did, even though he finished with Parramatta in reserve grade in a grand final. And but I think that's the mettle of the bloke, that it didn't worry him too much. He just went out there and did the job.